I think it's pretty safe to say that by far, one of the more exciting aspects of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker so far is how J.J. Abrams, Chris Terrio, and George Lucas have a lot of plans in place in order to connect this movie to the prequels and the originals. That's really going to benefit many of the characters like Kylo Ren and Rey in this story. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. So what's really exciting about Episode 9 is that we do know that this movie really is going to answer a lot of the burning questions from The Force Awakens, as well as adding in many new revelations that are actually going to change our view on some of the many characters in the prequels and the original trilogy. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the concept art descriptions, this is where things begin to get very exciting for the characters of Rey and Qui Gon Jinn, as well as Luke Skywalker. Now, specifically, what's really exciting about all of this is that a description of Rey on board of the Millennium Falcon, where it's described that Rey, Poe, and Finn are in hyperspace and are heading toward the mysterious jungle world. It's described that eventually Rey begins to go through all the belongings of Luke Skywalker that Rey took from Ahch-To during the events of The Last Jedi that Luke kept locked away for many years, where it's explained that Rey eventually discovers a device that was once a big secret by Qui Gon Jinn that was eventually handed down to Kenobi and passed on to Luke Skywalker. It's described to be a metallic box, where it's described to be a black kyber crystal inside that once belonged to an ancient Sith Lord many years ago that eventually fell into the hands of Qui Gon Jinn during his very own travels to the Lost City. This black kyber crystal is said to have been once originally discovered by the ancient Sith Lord when he traveled to the unknown regions in an unknown star system that held a planet full of black kyber. Unlike Luke's red kyber crystal necklace, Qui-Gon Jinn's black kyber crystal treasure was used by Qui-Gon to understand how dangerous the dark side can be and allow Qui-Gon to understand and know his limits. It's said that if inserted into a saber blade, it would ignite in it as a red blade itself. So let's go over a couple of parts about this, because this is by far one of the more interesting aspects of Episode 9. Now, we do know that there are going to be a lot of pieces of Jedi and Sith lore that's going to explain some of the other characters' past. Now, when we look at the character of Qui-Gon Jinn, we do know that he was more individual, if you will, right? He was more independent, I should say, on his beliefs and everything around those lines. He wasn't as in tune with the Jedi Council as he was, such as, with Yoda and Mace Windu, etc., like Obi-Wan Kenobi. We do know that Qui-Gon Jinn was a very interesting character. And when we look at Episode 9, the fact that they are trying to explain a lot of different elements of the past, this particular thing that Luke Skywalker kept locked away on Ahch-To for so very long was eventually handed down by Qui-Gon Jinn to Kenobi, and Kenobi eventually passed it on to Luke. So you can really see how a lot of the characters are still somewhat connected. Now, when we look at Qui-Gon Jinn, we do know that this character has been through a lot throughout the ages. And what I like about the current Disney canon, such as the books and the novels, they're really starting to explain more about the past of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. So moving on forward, alright, we do know that in The Rise of Skywalker, Rey owns a lot of Luke Skywalker's relics, one of which is this one in particular, a device that holds a black kyber crystal inside that is said to have once belonged to Qui-Gon Jinn that he actually discovered within the Lost City, the exact place that Rey is eventually going to go to. Now, this black kyber crystal that Qui-Gon Jinn once owned before he passed it on to Kenobi was said to actually been discovered by an ancient Sith Lord that once traveled to the unknown regions and discovered this on a planet full of black kyber. Now, Qui-Gon actually was said to use this as a way to understand how dangerous the dark side really is, or was at the time, and to know his limits as a Force user. So, what I like about this also is the black kyber is actually said to still ignite a red blade if it is inserted into an actual saber hilt. Now, if you guys go ahead and look at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, in a very strange way, we got a similar thing here. If you guys want to go ahead and purchase some of the kyber crystals there, some of which are black, and you will learn that if inserted into one of the blades at the Galaxy's Edge, it still ignites as a red blade. So, could these very well be the same exact kyber crystals that we are discussing right now? That's a big possibility. So looking on forward from this, we do know that J.J. Abrams, had a lot of help with Chris Terrio. By the way, Chris knows a lot of Star Wars Legends / the Expanded Universe material, as well as a lot of Star Wars lore, and he essentially used that as a way to really make The Rise of Skywalker feel rich in material, with a lot of Easter eggs and a lot of callbacks to the prequels and the originals, as well as Star Wars Legends. And I think that's what's really going to make this film stand out on its own, away from both The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, to really allow a lot of hardcore fans to also enjoy their time with this movie as well as introducing new elements to the new fans and the casual fans around the world. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.